Welcome, everyone. Thank you for attending this final panel before lunch. I'm Cody Upton, and I'm thrilled to moderate today's conversation between Joy Williams and Patricia Lockwood. This talk today feels fated to me. In 2022, Tricia received an award from the American Academy of Arts and Letters, where I work. It was called the Morton Dowen Zabel Award, and it was for a writer of progressive, original, and experimental tendencies. And Tricia came to New York City to receive this award. Joy was on the Literature Awards Committee panel that year and was going to present it to Tricia, but there was a medical emergency with her husband, Jason, and she was unable to come to the ceremony and collect the award. And both Joy and Tricia, I think, admire each other's work, and this weekend is the first time that they've met in person 3.5 years later. So a big thank you to the Key West Literary Seminar for making this happen. So, in connection with the theme today, I thought that we should begin today's panel with 2 acts of sustained attention. We are going to have 2 readings. Joy is going to read the eponymous story from her most recent collection, The Pelican Child, which came out this fall. And then after that, Tricia is going to read one of the final sections from oh boy, I have a typo here. Will There Ever Be Another You?
Very good.
Joy, why don't you start?
Thanks. I loved hearing the poetry earlier. I love readings.
Yeah, agreed.
That poetry was fantastic. Yes, this is called Baba Yaga and the Pelican Child. Baba Yaga had a daughter, a pelican child. The pelican child was stunningly strange and beautiful, as well as being very, very good. It was difficult to live as a pelican in the deep, dark woods, but the pelican child never seemed to think she belonged to any place other than here, with her bony, ill-tempered Baba and the cat and the dog. They all lived in a little hut on chicken legs, and they were not uncomfortable. Baba Yaga did not care for visitors, so when anyone approached, the chicken legs would move in a circle, turning the house so that the visitor could not find the door. This, too, was acceptable to them all. When Baba Yaga went away, which she did frequently, though she always returned, she would warn the dog and cat and her beautiful pelican child against allowing strangers into the house. Even if they do not appear as strangers, don't let them in, Baba Yaga said. And she would go off on her strange errands in her iron mortar, which she would row through the heavens with a pestle. One afternoon, when Baba Yaga was away, a tall, somewhat formally attired man approached the house. The chicken legs immediately went into rotation so that the door could not be found. Really, the legs looked as if they weren't even awake, but in fact, they never slept. "I have heard there is a beautiful bird here," the man shouted out, "and I would like to draw her." He waved a sketchbook in the air. "I'll make her immortal," he called. The man remained outside and darkness fell, occasionally calling out to them that he was an artist and very highly regarded. Then he went away. The cat turned on the lamp, and they waited for their Baba Yaga to return. There were 2 lamps in the hut, one that illuminated only what they knew already, and another one that Baba Yaga kept locked in a closet that illuminated what they did not know. Baba Yaga returned and said, "I smell something outside. It smells like cruel death. Who has been here?" And they described the man and what he had said. "If he returns, under no circumstances let him in," Baba Yaga said. The next day, she went off once again in her mortar. On foggy days, one could see the faintest trail of her passage through the sky, so she brought her broom along to sweep away any traces of herself. Baba Yaga was usually very careful, though sometimes she was not. Once again, the man appeared, and the chicken legs prevented him from finding the door. He shouted up to them as before, proclaiming his devotion to the pelican child's strangeness and beauty, and promising to make her immortal. "My name is synonymous with beautiful birds," he said, waving his portfolio at the windows. Just then the entire forest commenced to rattle, for Baba Yaga had returned and was rushing toward the distinguished gentleman on her bony legs, ready to thrash him with her pestle. "Wait, wait," he cried. "I only want to create your daughter's portrait. You cannot keep such a splendid creature locked up here. As a mother, you should want her to be appreciated. Others should be allowed to marvel at her. Come, look at the drawings I have made of her avian brothers and sisters." And Baba Yaga, allowing curiosity to get the better of her, and also because she did feel somewhat guilty, raising her beautiful daughter in the dark woods, agreed to look at the drawings. They were beautiful. Herons and ibis and egrets and roseate spoonbills and storks, feeding or flying or resting in their nests with their young, or gliding above water that sparkled. So great was the gentleman's skill, sunlight pouring through their perfect wings. "Let us retire to your home and lay these pictures on the floor inside so you can study them, and they won't be blown about by the wind," he said. Indeed, a violent wind had come up as though it were trying to tell Baba Yaga something, but she ignored it. So the chicken legs obediently swung the hut around, and Baba Yaga and the gentleman, whose name was John James Audubon, entered. "It's quite dim in here," Audubon remarked. "Would you have another lamp so that we can see the drawings better? I so want you to approve of them, so you will allow me to draw your beautiful daughter." "I do have another lamp," Baba Yaga said gladly. "And please, grandmother," he said, "could you be so kind as to lock the dog and cat away? The dog does frighten me, and I'm allergic to cats." Baba Yaga put the dog and the cat in the closet and followed them in, looking for the other lamp. "Oh, wouldn't you know," she muttered, "I put it on the highest, most difficult to reach shelf." Audubon slammed the door shut and bolted it. Baba Yaga and the dog and the cat were so stunned that for a moment they were completely speechless. Then they heard their beautiful pelican child say, "Oh, please, sir, do not take me from this bright world." And then a sharp crack, as though from a pistol, then terrible sounds of pain and surprise, and then nothing. The dog flung himself against the door again and again and worried a sliver loose with his teeth and claws, and then another sliver. He did not know how long he tore at the door. He had no conception of time. It seemed only yesterday he was a puppy, hanging onto Baba Yaga's sock as she limped across the room, or pouncing at moths, or grinning with joy when he was allowed, before he got too big, to accompany Baba Yaga on her flights across the sky. It seemed only yesterday that his fur was soft and black, his paws so pink and tender, his teeth so white, or so it seemed, as though it could be tomorrow. Finally, he had made a hole in the door just large enough for him to crawl through. What met his eyes was a scene so horrific he could not comprehend it. He began to tremble and howl. The beautiful pelican child was pierced through with cruel rods and was arranged in a position of life, her great wings extended, her elegant neck arched. But her life had been taken away, and her eyes were fathomless and dark. "A specimen," the cat screamed behind him. "He has made of our sister a specimen." Outside he ran through the forest. He could see the man running too, clutching his wretched papers and pens. Often the dog stumbled and twice he fell, for his hips had been bad for some time, and his poor old heart now pounded with sorrow. At last he gave up the pursuit, for the evil one had far outdistanced him. After he rested and caught his breath, he smelled the dreadful scent of cruel death. Audubon's abandoned campsite was nearby, and a fire of green branches still smoldered. Many were the trees that had been cut down, and on their stumps were colorful woodland birds, thrushes and larks and woodpeckers, and tiny iridescent and colorfully patterned ones whose names the dog did not know. Long nails thrust through their small bodies kept them erect, and thread and wire held their heads up and kept their wings aloft. Even more horrifying was the sight of birds dismembered, their pinions and claws severed for study. Whimpering, the dog fled back to the little hut on chicken legs. The legs were weeping, and Baba Yaga and the cat were weeping. Baba Yaga had enfolded her daughter in her arms, and her tears fell without ceasing on the pelican child's brown breast. In the morning, the cat said, "We must do something. I will go out again and find him and tear him to pieces," the dog said wearily. "I don't give a rat's ass about Audubon," the cat said. "We must bring our beautiful pelican sister back." "We will put the beautiful pelican child in the oven," the cat announced. "I couldn't bear to put my daughter in the cold oven," Baba Yaga said. "Who said anything about cold?" the cat said. "We will preheat it to, say, 100 degrees, and we will put her in for only half an hour." "That stove hasn't been used in years," Baba Yaga said. But they did what the cat suggested, for what else could they do? Carefully, they laid the pelican child in the oven, which was no longer cold, but not too warm either. "Oh, her beautiful face," Baba Yaga cried, "her beautiful bill. Take care with her bill." Then they waited. At last the cat announced that it had been half an hour, and Baba Yaga opened the oven, and the pelican child, as beautiful as she had ever been, tumbled out and tottered into their happy arms alive. After this, Baba Yaga continued to fly through the skies in her mortar, navigating with her pestle. But instead of a broom, she carried the lamp that illuminated the things people did not know or were reluctant or refused to understand. And she would lower the lamp over a person, and they would see how extraordinary were the birds and beasts of the world, and that they should be valued for their bright and beautiful and mysterious selves, and not willfully harmed. For they were more precious than castles or the golden rocks dug out from the earth. But she could reach only a few people each day with the lamp. Baba Yaga came home one evening so tired, and she gathered her little family around her, the pelican child and the dog and the cat, and said, "My dear ones, I still have magic and power unutilized. Do you wish to become human beings? For some think you are under a hellish spell. Do you want to become human?" The cat and the dog spoke. The pelican child had not spoken since the day of her return. "No," the dog and the cat said. Thanks, Cody.
Thank you, Joy. That was amazing. I didn't know who Baba Yaga was.
You didn't know who Baba Yaga was?
I didn't know who Baba Yaga was.
She's so important. She's got the egg. Okay, what do you know about her now?
Well, tell us, Joy, tell us who Baba Yaga is.
Yes.
Why Baba Yaga?
Well, the Russian witch who was very ill-tempered and lived in this fabulous house on chicken legs, which did rotate, so no one could find the door. No visitors came. This fascinated me as a child. Even then, I was a little withdrawn or something. Yes, I mean, that's amazing. You've never heard of Baba Yaga.
Yeah, I
and
was
her,
deprived, clearly, as a child.
What fairy tales did you read as a child?
Hansel and Gretel, Sleeping Beauty. I don't know. Yeah. And why a pelican? Like, why not a Carolina parakeet?
Well, because it was so strange for a pelican to be living in the woods. I just added to the Baba Yaga legends by, and I made her much more tender-hearted. You know, I mean, she's a pretty, right?
Yeah, she's a huge bitch
Yeah.
in the real story. Yeah.
So I recreated her. I mean, she was kind, and she loved her children, the dog and the cat and the pelican.
Can I ask about the lantern? Because I was familiar with the story, but when I got to the part about the lantern, I found that very important, and I didn't know if it was part of the original story. Is that your lantern?
That's my lantern.
Okay. How did you come to find that?
How did I come up with the lantern? Well, I wanted the concept that she was capable of changing people's attitudes, and so I thought of two different. And that's such a cliche, really. The lamp of wisdom,
It didn't feel like a cliche at all. There's something about the phrasing of it, that shows people the things that they do not know and are reluctant to be shown. And
It's on the highest, most difficult to reach shelf.
yes, that was very
The
good.
important lantern.
Have you ever read your own audiobooks?
Have I ever read?
Yeah, have you done any of your audiobooks?
No.
It would be
What they say?
amazing. I haven't heard you read, but that was spellbinding. I
Oh.
think, yes. I think
Oh,
another
this-
round of applause. Consider it.
Well, it's Cody that, because there haven't been any readings.
No,
No,
and
it's
it
true.
felt like, I don't know, you are an eminence, Joy. It felt like we needed to hear a completed work of yours.
Yes.
So I hope everybody likes hearing a story, or do you just want to hear thoughts?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Okay, well, this is a great segue. We'll get into it more, but Tricia, do you want to go next?
Yes, but I think I'll read a poem
Okay.
instead. I have a poem called Animals that is about Elizabeth Bishop and Marianne Moore
Wonderful.
that I'll read instead, because I think about Joy's stories taking place in the animal world. I can feel myself as an animal when I'm reading her work. And I will say that probably the only thing in the world that could have prevented me from meeting you at that ceremony, from, getting handed that envelope or whatever for the freak award. Like, it's basically a freak award, right? It's for like being a freak and just doing whatever you want. The only thing that
In
could
the
ever
best
have
way.
stopped that was my husband almost blowing up on an airplane. So it was the only thing that could have done it.
Excuse.
It's a really high compliment from me.
They did send it to you. They did send you
They
the
did
envelope.
indeed.
Oh,
It
good,
wasn't the
thanks.
same. But then I sort of felt that maybe we shouldn't have met at that time because, there's something, I don't know if writers should meet. If it's embarrassing to have written books, it's embarrassing to be a reader sometimes too. It is very private and it's very personal. And sometimes you find yourself capable of thinking through another person, which I do with you in the last chapter of Will There Ever Be Another You? And you just, if you encounter the person in their incarnation, you just feel covered in shame sometimes. So I think we were meant to do it here instead, where I can be shamed up on the stage for all of you to see. This poem is called Animals. Animals. In Memories of Uncle Neddy, the bishop is speaking of itinerant portrait painters, which she was. She wrote that her grandmother had this chorus, "Nobody knows, nobody knows." She cried easily, like a tree. All of them did, and said the rocking chair was a memory machine. Marianne Moore once turned on her. "Do you like the nude, Elizabeth?" "Yes, on the whole," she replied. The bishop and Miss Moore are sitting again in the glow of a matinee of Kon-Tiki. She is running away from a boy-girl party and in a light rain, sleeping green sleep in the woods. Crossing the Florida border into Georgia, out of the corner of my right eye, I always suspect possum settlements on the banks, an ongoing half-submerged miniature life that I could draw every day for the papers. People would follow after news of the war, the exploits these figments get up to, with their stocky, elegant, repeatable bodies and the deep, blushing bricks they throw to show love, and that thick, indecipherable dialect. She would. The muskrat has a piano just out of tune, and the owl keeps bluebirds in a cage, though what gives him the right, I can't say. And all get speech bubbles which provide emergency air for as long as the line, so make it last. The riverbank is a sestina that has chosen crumb, coffee, balcony for end words, and miracle. Yet here animals sit in dying sun, sleeping in the woods, weeping easily as trees, and awakened early by a tongue. Why be a painter? Why share a bed? Why do animals in blue jeans so behave? Living only to drop in or be dropped in on, tea table laid, rocking chairs tireless, 6 feet between redhead and grape, or muscadine and foxes. Riverine love flowing slow, unrequited, then lifting from form to go hydraulic, to see the other and her mother at their mad, long, hopeless translation of La Fontaine.
Thank you, Tricia. Key West?
Key West.
A
Let's talk
healing
about it.
place?
Yes, a literary place. Yes, so I was actually having Jason, my husband, reread your Paris Review interview so that he could be prepared and then I could feel prepared through him. And he noticed something I didn't notice, that you wrote State of Grace, living by the St. Mark's River. I was just there. My brother lives there. It is the most out-of-the-way place in the world, and you said that it was a very feral place to write a novel, and I really felt that there. I feel like Florida, you can write anything in Florida. Yeah, I think that you can. Yeah, would you say that that's true?
Well, I've kind of left Florida to the desert now.
Yeah.
And I think you can write anything there.
Yeah.
But it's getting very crowded. Everything's getting crowded. But the desert is freaky too, with its, beautiful javelinas and its roadrunners and its Gila monsters. And,
The javelinas are like the pigs?
Oh, no, they're not a pig.
Okay.
What are they? I keep
they
learning this and then
peccaries?
forgetting it. They are not a wild pig.
Someone in the audience knows.
Yep, Gary. Does Gary know? No. He's not.
I literally thought they were a pig. This
No, they
entire
are
time.
mammals.
Okay.
Oh, isn't this wonderful?
We have
This
no idea.
This would never have come up at the Academy when I was handing you the award. And now Patricia knows they're not a pig.
And they eat cacti, which is wild. I've seen it.
Okay.
I think they're somewhat related to the hippopotamus in some
damn it.
bizarre.
Okay.
Well, they're a very strange and lovely creature. Of course, they're loathed in the outskirts of Tucson.
Yes. Wow. So you like to write in animal places, wild animal places. Yeah. Do you feel like your stories take place in the animal world?
Totally. You're right. Wait.
Well, maybe the pelican child.
Is this why you wanted me to sit in the middle? So
Yes. So we can both come at you from either side, attacking you. Yes.
Oh, yeah, I think I probably should belong in the animal world.
Or maybe there's really no difference. Maybe that's part of the point.
Is that what the lamp is supposed to show us?
Maybe.
Yeah. That it's all the animal world.
Patricia, what brought you to Key West? Like at the end of Will There Ever Be Another You, it feels like the place that heals you, the place that maybe makes writing poetry possible?
Yes. So actually, Key West is always a place that I've been able to work. The end of Priestaddy takes place in Key West. We go on a trip there with my mother, and we see the iguana. And, I quote the Isaac Dinesen quote about, the color like that is in them while they're still alive, and how when they die, it's like the bracelet on the girl's arm. So I've always found it, generative, like very fertile in some strange way. But I always like to come down here after I finish a book, or as is the case with this, after I finished the audiobook. So I had read the audiobook, that's why I asked if you had ever done yours. It's really quite arduous in a way, but you make sure that people are hearing it the way you actually wrote it. And you feel that you can show them how to read it sometimes if it's something difficult. So I wanted to make sure that I did it, and then came down here and just wrote poetry for a week. And it was very blissful, yeah.
I've never been allowed to read an audiobook.
I'm so angry
I don't know
about
what
this.
it's like.
I think that I'm going to make some calls when I get home, and we are going to make something like that happen, because I think that would be very wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Well, so in that same Paris Review interview, Joy, you say that I think the writer has to be responsible to signs and dreams, receptive and responsible. If you don't do anything with it, you lose it. You stop getting these omens. So how do you stay receptive? And how do you stay receptive? How do you take notes? Do you are you just always walking around like a giant antenna, or does it sort of come and
that
go?
would
or
be helpful, wouldn't it?
it would be helpful.
Well, Tricia, I think, has really honed the art of remembering dreams. I mean, she seems to have how did you train for that? Look, do you see how easily we try to shift
It's very nicely.
the answer from one another?
It was very well done. It's because beforehand in the green room, I told you that I had the most horrifying dream last night about doing an interview, and it was so scary, and it was incredibly Baroque and vivid. And then when I woke up, I wasn't scared at all anymore, because nothing that happened here on the stage could be like anything that happened in that dream. And it was just an absolute, like, angelic visitation.
But you understood the dream. You've got to tell the dream
I
because you
know.
understood
It's horrible.
so many. Well, it's. But it gave you grace.
It did give me very much grace. So, I am interviewing Karl Ove Knausgård on Tuesday in New York at a very big venue, and I'm very frightened about this. It's frightening to be interviewed, but I think it's much more frightening to interview someone, because the ball is in your court. You're in charge of the horse.
I feel very seen.
Yeah, you feel extraordinarily seen. So the dream that I had was that we were in this great fancy building in New York, and every great writer in the world was there. And it contained a water park that had a series of slides that all went down like this. And all of the great writers, all of the great geniuses in the world are on this water slide together. And I'm at the very top, right? And if you've ever been on one, you know how the water comes pumping out at you, and there's sort of this like ebb and flow. And I thought, all of a sudden, I am going to crap myself on this water slide with every great writer in the world here. And at that moment, that's exactly what I did. In the dream, not in reality. And the water, for some reason, ebbed mightily and then pulsed, so that what had come out of me was sprayed all over the great writers of the world and the great geniuses of the world. And they were covered in what had come out of me. And I thought, oh my God. And so I ran from the water slide, and all of the writers are sort of like pointing finger guns at me and being like, oh, the crap celebrity. They were all so happy that it was me and not them that this had happened to. And so I'm running hither and yon trying to get clean. How do I get clean? And there's this wonderful, enormous fountain where all of these old drunk men are bathing. And they say, come on in, sugar. And I come into the fountain where they're soaping themselves and frolicking, and there is no soap for me. And I can only get wet, and I cannot get clean. So I'm wet, and I'm fleeing, and there's also a Nazi movie being filmed in this hotel. So there are guys dressed up as Nazis pretending to check people's papers. And then all of a sudden I see Karl Ove, and he hands me a letter, and he said, you ruined things for everyone by revealing the mystery. And I open the letter, and on the left-hand side, there are all of these stamps of evil jazz-age women, which I assume was meant to be me. And on the right side was a $12 bill. And in the middle was an excerpt that I could not read because you can't read in dreams. And this was the thing that I had revealed, the mystery that I had spoiled for the entire world. And just as my eyes began to focus in and I thought finally it would happen, I would read in the dream, then I woke up.
Isn't that fantastic? That's fantastic.
And I thought I could never be scared again. That couldn't happen. This isn't a possible scenario. So now, if you are afraid, I think you can think of that. And you can experience the angelic visitation as well.
Well, so Tricia, I'm curious about like the process or the mediation that occurs between an amazing dream like that and like what if that ends up on the page at some point in the future or some version of it, like what is that process that moves from like the real Tricia to the constructed Tricia? Yes,
this is a very interesting question, because have you noticed the thing about dreams where if you tell someone over breakfast the dream, that fades away too. Like you can't remember the telling in the same way that you don't remember the dream. Like it all belongs to that part of the dream life. So with this one, I woke up and Jason came back into the room with his coffee and I said, I have to tell you what just happened to me. And I told it to him and he said, go write it down immediately so you don't lose it because it can slip away. It is your material, but it can slip away. And I actually left myself a voice memo. So I haven't transcribed it yet, but I will write it down because I do feel it will be a gift to people. Because that can't happen, yeah.
Well, I hadn't, when you told it to me, the Nazis weren't in it.
I know.
So who knows?
Yeah.
You know, you tell it again and something else will.
Well, there's an initial part that I'll
Remember.
save maybe if I tell Carl
It
over.
becomes
yeah.
richer and
It becomes
richer.
richer with each telling.
And
yeah.
weirder and
yeah.
weirder.
Mansions and
Right.
mansions, that's right.
But the unreadable messages.
Yeah, and I really felt I was going to get it that time. You know, my eye was just swirling in and it was about to snap into focus and then it's gone.
But it's so interesting. You could see the number on the bill.
I
Like
knew
numbers.
it was a $12 bill.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
It's worth a fortune.
It is worth a fortune.
You're the
listen.
rock tarot reader. I feel like
Yes.
this is your sign to interpret.
Yes. Should we read Joy's Stone Tarot?
Let's do it.
Okay, so I write a little bit in Will There Ever Be Another You? And also in 1,000 Words of Summer, I have a short story about this. I think it was one day in 2021. I had taken mushrooms the previous day. That probably had something to do with it. And I woke up the next morning, and I have this sort of vast stone and pebble collection. And I walked over to the collection, and I just started picking up stones. And it seemed that they all had names and meanings. And I put them all together into this bag, and I called it my Stone Tarot. But it's completely made up by me, and we're going to read Joy's. So you can, don't look, but take 3 out.
But I can't look. I can't choose.
Yeah, you can't choose. You can feel, though. You can
Okay.
feel. And you have the question in your mind, and it's not like a yes or no question, but something, more to do with life or art or something like that. And it's not necessarily about the future. But you don't tell me what it is, and then we lay the stones here, and I'll tell you what they are. And then if you want to, you can say what the question was.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
because Cody
it's optional.
told me.
Yeah, what did Cody say?
Well, he said that I would have to tell the question.
You don't necessarily have to.
And I've been
So I
thinking of-
warned Joy that it had
I've-
to be a question for public consumption.
I've been thinking about this all morning.
Yeah.
Talk about.
Oh,
you
no,
know.
that's so terrible. I'm so sorry.
Maybe I'm not going to partake, but now that I
Now
don't
that you
have
know,
to tell.
you don't have to tell
Okay.
it. All right.
Thank
So I
you.
think you'll know as soon as you stick your
Okay,
hand
3.
in there. Yeah.
All right.
And you can hand them to me one by one.
Ooh, that's a little one. Okay. Ooh, there's a sharp one. Or is that a paper clip? No.
No.
Okay. Ooh, okay. Another sharp one. Okay. They don't look as though they're together at all.
I think they will, though, when I put them like this. Okay. So I wish that you could see these. Maybe we'll take a picture for the Instagram. Okay. So I do a sort of, would you like to look at them more closely, or?
No.
No.
They're very
All right,
beautiful.
so I do past, present, and future. And for the past, Joy has chosen the compass. And this goes to all ends of the world. It's a piece of rutilated quartz that I call the compass because it spins, like Baba Yaga's house, like her egg.
On the legs,
It's
yeah.
the house that we want to live in, where they can't find the door and they can't see us. And it's you going to all corners of the world and working in them. This reflects very badly on you. Yeah, this is actually a fossilized, it's an agatized snail shell, right? So it looks almost like caramel if you hold it up to the light. It looks like something very organic. But this is involution, and it is you sort of going into yourself and running away from the rest of us and being inside your shell. It's a kind of like, not loneliness necessarily, but it's being sufficient inside yourself, being sufficient unto yourself, and not necessarily wanting people to see you. And this is your future, and it's the most beautiful stone that you could possibly choose. Forrest also chose it, and it's called laughter, or the medicine bag. And it's a piece of fire agate that flashes like this, and it looks like it has a duckling and an egg.
Also looks as though it's wearing sunglasses.
A
weirdly.
little bit like sunglasses.
I mean, that's very strange.
So in the future, you'll keep wearing
I
them.
know. Good. Okay, I have to apologize.
So if you have a question, you can tell it, but if not, you can leave it to the stones.
You know, it was so exciting talking about this or anticipating it. I forgot to think of a question. I'm sorry.
Completely forgot.
I'm not fibbing. you know.
It's a private question, but also sometimes it's just like about a person, like a personality. And I think that those are...
Well, Cody can do this as well, right?
Yeah, Cody, do you want to draw?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Here.
You want to do it afterwards?
What?
Oh, okay. All right.
Clamoring for it. It's a big hit, Cody. All right, so I'm going to sort of
I
like...
just like hearing you talk about these amazing stones.
I know. I really have
Like
a strange relationship.
Agatized snail shell.
I know. They're so beautiful. Okay, pass him.
Thank you.
And then you can pass them down to me again as you choose.
Okay.
Take your time. Ooh, pretty. Oh, that's a very
That's
pretty
demorterite in quartz.
one. Ooh.
I'm surprised you didn't choose this one. This is Tooth and Claw. And this is a belemnite.
This wasn't ragged enough.
Yeah, it has a ragged little tip.
Ooh. These are all very
They're
different.
beautiful.
Yes, yes. And this is the tower, but it's not like the tarot tower. Okay, so this is kind of an interesting one, and I don't know that it's ever been chosen in a reading before. It's the glass coffin. It is a period of stasis. Sometimes it can have to do with drugs or alcohol or willingly obliterating yourself or shutting yourself away from the world or just being a beautiful princess in a little glass place where everyone can see you. But they're very rare. They're incredibly beautiful. They seem to glow. And these blue sort of fibers, these inclusions are in the quartz. But this one is also terminated very nicely. Now, the present. This is Tooth and Claw. And it is also a fossil. So both of you chose, for your present stones, a fossil. But this is survival, and this is ragged hanging on, and it's strength. And it is from the animal world. It is about fangs. It is about blood. It is about bones. That's why I'm surprised that Joy didn't choose it. When you said, here's a sharp one, I thought Tooth and Claw. But no, that was Cody. And this is the tower. And this is a sort of observatory. It's when you go up into the top of your own mind and you're looking up at the stars and you're thinking great philosophical thoughts. So this is coming for you, Cody. It's coming very, very soon that you're going to be up there gazing, knowing things, and thinking thoughts that no one's ever had before.
Ooh, very nice.
Thank you.
But you don't, what was your question? Does it pertain? You don't have to tell it either.
You know, I feel like questions were swirling in my head around like professional questions, but
Yeah.
also I've been like working on a book for like 15 years. and
Okay.
So like, you know, but
So you were in this place.
I think that's the stasis.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
And now you're sort of hanging on. Are you near finishing?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So what are you going to do afterwards?
Go to the observatory.
Go to the observatory. Very, very good. Yes, you'll have, I don't know, a little bit of peace and a little bit of ability to think about what you want to do again.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
That was amazing. You'll be doing this afterwards, right?
Oh, yes, you'll be swamped.
But I feel like this is a perfect segue into something I want to talk about, which is secrets.
Secrets.
Because, Joy, I think that you are a great keeper of secrets, and that is your power.
Yeah.
And Tricia, I think the world at least perceives you as someone who does not have secrets.
Yeah, I
that
think
you
you're
are
right.
very candid about your life and your interior thoughts, and that is your power. But somehow it feels like, you know, like you sort of go back around the circle and meet in the middle. It feels like somehow these powers are related to each other.
Yeah.
Talk about that.
No, I think it's true. I feel like Joy is very secretive in her work, but it's also very naked, you know? It'll just be... I feel like I recognize the rooms in Joy's stories. I feel like I recognize the babies, how there'll, suddenly be a baby or there suddenly won't be a baby. I feel like I recognize the names. I feel like the names are the real names of the world. Like, these are all the things that I see. And I think that you're right that people perceive that I have no secrets and that I will just say anything. And it's true that interviews are partly scary for me because I will say anything and I will say the truth. But it's also like a starting pistol has gone off and I have to run and like scream the truth as I'm running. It's like they're after me, So I do think that there are secrets inside, but I feel like if the right question were asked, that I would tell those too.
You would tell the secrets?
Yeah.
Oh, I see. Okay.
But do you know your own secrets?
I think perhaps I don't.
Is the writing part of trying to
Like
unlock
the way to find out, like
Yeah.
asking yourself questions. Writing for me and the sort of writing I do is kind of just like this. It's like placing stones in proximity, It's like making relations between things that seem to me to have personalities or souls, and that creates the form or that creates the interaction. I think that's a little bit different for Joy. I think so much of hers is in dialogue, in this like wonderful dialogue that at the same time seems like, any character might have spoken these lines at any given time, or that characters from previous stories are walking in and delivering these lines, yeah.
But so, do you feel at all that your writing is a quest to understand yourself, or do you...
Yeah, I think if I didn't write things down, perhaps I wouldn't remember them. If I had these dreams and I didn't attend to the signs, perhaps the signs would leave me and they would stop coming. But it's also just compulsively what I do. It's what I wake up in the morning and do. And since I began as a poet, I've always been allowed to do it exactly the way I wanted, in a very strange way. We were talking at the other panel about, poets' novels written by people who were not poets, who were just novelists. I think that you write that sort of novel. I was really thinking about you in that way. But you keep your secrets very tightly locked, you would say?
It's my question. I'm just not interested in myself,
Interesting.
at all.
Yeah.
I don't think myself is very interesting. So it's not as though I'm trying to discover
You're just
myself.
like, look over there.
Yeah.
There's animals over there.
But I was also thinking of Pessoa, who you know and write about, but how it made him unhappy not to know himself, and but then it made him happy too, not to know himself and to just create these figures that weren't himself, but that still filled in the silhouette.
Well, and when he hit on this idea of the header in him, that he could be this other person, then suddenly he knew what to write about. That moment is actually in the Knausgård novel, School of Night. There's this character who's suddenly like released into his artistic prime, into that state where it seems like everything you touch turns to gold, everything's good and everything is coming to you. And he said that happened for him when he chanced upon that name.
It wasn't the old men in the fountain, right? Soaping themselves.
Why did they have the soap?
Yeah.
And why did they not offer it to me? There's so many questions raised
so visual.
and not answered by the dream.
Well, that feels like a nice segue, and I wanted to talk about men, particularly fathers and husbands.
Okay.
So you both are the daughters of preaching men,
Yes.
a Congregationalist minister and a Catholic priest. And this has to have had some effect on you.
Yeah.
But specifically, like, how did it make you think about literature and maybe becoming a writer? Did it have any impact?
Well, it really is funny that we're both preachers' kids,
is funny.
But different spawns,
Very
totally
Yeah,
different
totally spawn.
experience. I just loved and this wasn't Episcopalian or Catholic. My father was a Congregationalist minister, and but I just loved the solemnity of the service and just the words. Even today, the Book of Common Prayer just it transforms me for that hour each Sunday, although I must say I missed this morning. But just it seemed as though the words of faith were being used in a totally different way. And I think even as a kid, but there was nothing sort of raucous or weird about growing up as a I was an only child, so PK and an only child. I should have turned out extremely, well, maybe I did. Anyway.
You turned out bad. You turned out very rotten, very rotten. No, it was in the language for me, and it was the fact that my father was speaking it. And I was telling you the other night that my father has this wonderful speaking voice and singing voice, and most Catholic priests cannot sing at all. And my father can, and he's always on beautiful pitch. And it must affect you to hear that, to hear the liturgy and the litanies, and to hear the words going in threes. You know, you sort of, the sentences go in threes, and there are these repetitions. And there's actually this moment, you know, because it's Catholic. So there's a moment where your father is holding up the host, and a little kid next to him rings the bells. And that means that something has changed. And I was thinking the other night, watching Rachel on the stage, that I always feel very moved when I see live performance, dance, plays, anything like that. But I think it's because I feel I'm in rows with people and I'm looking toward the front. I think that I feel that it is some sort of church form, that I'm in the rows and I'm looking to the stage and the lights for the thing to happen, the real thing to happen, which a lot of times it does. It really does.
Well, Joy, you write in that Paris Review interview that Jason so helpfully read, that you're not interested, or that a story's job is not to sort of deal with like the literal matter of what's happening, but that there's a desire to attain the celestial.
Yeah.
Something beyond just
Where the story
sort of
longs to go.
Yeah.
It takes it into the realms of the celestial where the story longs to go. Yeah.
And do you
I said that, huh?
Yeah.
allegedly?
Yeah, because he wanted to cut that line.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. But I didn't realize I was so articulate.
But do you feel like that's coming out of the Book of Common Prayer, like seeing what words
Yes,
can do?
yeah,
you
yeah.
know that you're bringing that to literature.
I never sort of grasped the sort of workshop conception of the story, and nobody really does now. That's not how they teach the story or short story or read the short story. But yeah, I really thought it had to be a transformative experience, and that's why I like that very short form too. I can't see that sort of happening in a novel where everything just accretes and involves, but doesn't transform.
But how do you get there? How do you get to the celestial?
Oh my gosh, Cody, come on.
I mean, I guess what I mean is like, is it just in a very rote way? Is it just like through revision? Are you just listening to the story over and over again and thinking about it? And
Well, it's the story, and this sounds corny. I mean, I think anything you say in reply to questions about craft sound kind of corny or false or But I think the story for me guides me. I don't do much revision. I mean, each sentence is like agony or something, and it takes me weeks, if not months, to write a short story. But I think the short story finally has faith in you for telling it or expressing it, and maybe that's the sneeze for me. It's not that abrupt, but it evolves, and because I've always said this too, which sounds false, but the story knows more. Your story that you're writing knows more than you do. Like your dream knows more than the way you can express it.
how do you seek the celestial, Tricia?
Well, I can actually tell you something very concrete, which is if you look at all of my closing lines, all of the rhythm, I do 3 repetitions, and it's almost like an iambic pentameter at times. So when I close, and I shouldn't do that, I should probably cut those lines, right? But I think that's where I go into the voice. I was thinking about poetry, and I was thinking that there's just music in your mind. There's not, it's just in there. It's like a wave in the mind, and the words are just like a line that rides on the top of that. So that's just what I'm transcribing that. I would say that every line is not agony necessarily, but I'm doing it line by line. It's not coming out in this free-floating stream of consciousness or anything like that. And it does take me a very long time. I mean, that book took probably 4 years. But I don't know. I do it by feel, and it's sort of like I say, it's like when you're being weighed at the doctor, or the way it used to be when they would bring these weights.
They
like
don't even
this.
bother with that
They don't.
anymore,
They
do
don't
they?
have these
They don't-
anymore.
They don't care
They
how much
bring
you weigh,
these weights.
how tall you are.
And then you just stand there, and all of a sudden it's like she nods, and you feel the thing inside you that's like, that's how much I weigh, and that's when you know it's done. It's not very helpful. I'm sorry.
No, so we only have a couple minutes left. I think we need to circle back to attention.
Okay.
And Tricia, you mentioned Rachel's amazing keynote address. I loved the films. But Joy and I were talking about it afterwards, and I was remembering the ice cream sundae.
Yeah.
And to me, it just seemed like that is a calving iceberg. That is like a melting glacier. And Joy had a different take on it. I won't quote exactly what you said, but the gist of it was like, how could we possibly be paying attention to something so mundane when the world is on fire, when glaciers really are vanishing? So I guess the question is, then, in that Paris Review interview again, I think you also said that a herd of wild elephants is worth more than any story. So what should we be paying attention to? And what is the role of literature in a time when many terrible things are happening?
I really was affected by that melting sundae when the cherry flopped off and stuff.
Yeah,
But
me too. It was the cherry.
It's the cherry.
It was the cherry.
That was the
Felt
first
so
thing.
final.
But that's just data. That's surreal. That's the melting clock.
Mm-hmm.
And but I just thought instinctively, would it be as fascinating, or would the movie theater in New York be as packed if you were just watching an iceberg melt
Yeah.
on the screen? I mean, wouldn't your heart be broken? Wouldn't it's no longer just a concept, a conceptual game. I mean, of course, the theater would empty out. I mean, how can you sit there and watch like a polar bear on a piece of ice the size of this chair in a sea of water? Everything's. But I know I'm drifting away from your question and how art can face this. But I do think there's got to be a hinge here. I mean, we do have to start paying attention, and the books and the art we see and the books we read have got to help guide us, no matter how stumblingly, towards a different way of being on this earth and being with the other creatures. And it really isn't happening. I think we're in a very strange period of maybe pre-COVID years. How long has it been since COVID now? How many years?
5. Yeah, 5.
It was such an opportunity there.
6.
Such an incredible opportunity for us to truly transform our way of thinking, and we didn't do it. So I don't know. I don't think a film in a dark movie theater of a glacier melting. I don't know if we're capable of the transformation that is needed, but I certainly think the arts have got to be less cautious and really speak about important things. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Joy. Thank you, Tricia. Thank you, Key West Literary Seminar. Enjoy your lunch.